I didn't feel like there was a place for me to serve the Lord, and everyone around me in ministry was well polished and calm and articulate. And I was like this spaz wrecking ball that came in the room. I always felt like, I don't, why should I become a Christian? Like, where am I going to serve? I don't get it. There's nothing for me. And he's like, Lavi, look for a need. And where can you fill it with the skills you have? And if nothing exists, then start it. And he was just so like matter of fact. And I thought, okay. And I realized early on, it's easy to listen to someone and help bandage them up as they're telling you their story and you pray with them. Like it was so impactful. He does remember meeting me. His first thought was I could never marry her or a girl like her. So it wasn't love at first sight. I said, how did you do that? And he looked at me and he goes, do you really think sweat and smell is going to hold me back from bringing somebody joy? Like the joy in something basic, like sun on their face? And I felt so shallow and so small. I was like, he's so right. But I remember thinking, oh my goodness, if he can do that for a stranger, how amazing would he be as a husband? The road's not always easy. There's sometimes bumps, but if you really believe in something, pray about it and petition for it. Don't give up. It's not about you. It's about God's kingdom. And if you don't participate, God doesn't suffer and his kingdom doesn't suffer. It's you. You're missing out on God's blessings.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Make Your Life Count, the podcast produced by Charity Cup. The podcast is called Make Your Life Count because it's the motto for Charity Cup. The stories that we feature here on this podcast is meant to embody that motto. We believe that Make Your Life Count, it counts the most when you invest it in two things that are eternal: God and people's souls. That's what these stories are about. Today we have with us a friend of mine, a friend of the ministry, somebody that's been involved in the ministry, and it is still involved, but at a different level. Somebody that has a pretty deep medical research background, but also serving background within Charity Cup, and has been a pillar to us, a big ministry that right now we are able to serve with in many places around the world. So I don't want to spoil it for you, but um, without any further ado, please help me welcome to the podcast Lavinia Dobrea. Hi, Lavi.
Thanks for the Romanian accent. I love it. Hi, Donnie,
I
and thanks for
mean,
having me.
we are Romanian, so welcome, Lavi. It's been a little bit in the works. We've been talking about getting together, and without any difficulties, technically, we got we got it going in the end. But Lavi, how are you?
Good. Very good.
So
How about you?
you're coming to us from sunny California. I'm very good. Actually, we saw each other not long ago, which is really cool. Uh, that was a beautiful trip, by the way. Just for the people that don't know, we had a Charity Cup board meeting. Her husband, John, is on our board of directors for Charity Cup, and so we have a yearly meeting in California many times. And this time, I ended up staying at their house, and as many other people have in the past and currently. So, Lavi, that was really cool. I remember on the last day we got a chance for somebody to take us out on the boat. That was such a really cool experience with you guys and your family. So, Lavi, how are things going for you guys? And kind of maybe tell us a little bit where you're at right now, family wise, career wise.
Right. Well, I'm trying not, when people ask me how I am and how things are going in California, I try not to rub it in. It's so sunny and so nice and so warm. It was 84 and sunny yesterday, and it's like mid 70s today. Yeah, so I am rubbing it in. But we're good.
Thanks.
John and I, we've been married. It'll be 20 years this fall. And right now we're living in Southern California. I've been here for almost 21 years. Um, John's been here since he immigrated from Romania. And we're very active. We're members at Agape Church here it's in Yorba Linda, California, and still active with Charity Cup. And like you mentioned, John's on the board, and he got an opportunity to take Kennedy to Tanzania, our oldest, a couple of summers ago. And I'm praying that this summer I'll be able to take all three kids. Uh,
Yeah,
We always said, once we have kids and they're fully vaccinated, I wanna take them on global mission trips, so it's time.
good. So, Lavi, there's probably a lot to unpack here. Currently, right now, you don't necessarily have an active role within Charity Cup, but you had a major role, or maybe I don't know, but as far as I know, John is does. But you kind of took on the role of a mom for a while, and now I believe as like from a career standpoint, we can dive a little bit into that. But I didn't know you became a doctor in the meantime, not a medical doctor, but a PhD. But you were very instrumental in setting up the medical ministry, which was really cool. That's still going on today, right? That's your legacy. I mean, so there's a lot of that conversation today is going to be about that because um, that's the one that I know very well because I was part of that, and that's your legacy. So I want to dive into that. But really, I think your family is a lot more than that. When I visit you guys, it's very inspiring. I told this to John when I had a podcast with him, I don't know, 3 4 weeks ago, that what you guys are the way you guys are serving people when people go to visit, I feel like it's a ministry, it's not just come and stay over. Um, so that's another side of things. Can you, I don't know, speak to that at all or
Yeah, and, I didn't really realize it was a ministry until it naturally kind of happened. So John's very hospitable as well, and just having the heart for hosting people and fellowshipping with people in a very genuine, real way, like doing life with people. And it was nice because when we met, our personalities matched on that. It meshed naturally. And even when we moved here into Yorba Linda, now we have more space to host more. And John started this book. It's a red book for our guests that sleep over. And he's really diligent about having people sign the book, why they were in town, what they were here for. And I always joke because I don't read it in real time. I said, one day when I'm old and have Alzheimer's, I'll look back and read these. He does read them in real time, and it's beautiful to see what people were in town for: a charity cup event, a youth conference, a youth camp. Like, it's just, there's so much going on where you can get involved in the Romanian community and get involved in serving the Lord, that it's beautiful to see it tracked in a book. So, yes, we love hosting. If you're in town, please call us, text us. We only say no if we're already booked with someone else.
well,
But, it's a blessing to us, and I love raising our children and having them have the opportunity to have different folks come through our home and hear their story. We love when they're here with us and they get to meet our guests, form a relationship with them, and just hear other stories. I think it's especially important for our children because, we're raising them in one way, giving them everything that we didn't have, but they're not hearing the hardships. They're not hearing our parents' legacy. And so um, I think there's a lot to be said for sharing those stories.
yeah. So I bring that up because I think you guys, it's not just like, hey, come over when you can. I think it's like very intentional, which
John's very intentional.
yeah, but a big part of that is obviously falls on you because obviously like just as last time, right? It's not easy to have 20 people at your house, and then we're all, sometimes you got to feed them. Sometimes if you don't feed them, you got to at least provide snacks or whatever. But you guys are super hospitable. I know I'm saying this because I remember being in your kitchen just, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and you made like bread after bread after bread. And by the time you even
Oh,
got
I
a chance
know.
to try it, like we were already on it, like cutting it up with the butter. Where's the butter? Um, and I'm sure you were like, oh, another bread I got to waste on these guys.
No, it's my
But
joy. And don't worry, I have three kids who are very good house cleaners. They know how to do it all. So it's a family effort.
the kids were also obviously they gave up their rooms to many of us, so that's like I said, it's a whole entire operation. We really appreciate it. Whenever we went, and I remember we were gonna stay at an Airbnb, and John's like, "Well, just come over. Why are you guys staying there?" Like, but there's like this many people. Like, don't worry about it. We'll make room. you know. So,
I think
so
last fall you slept on an air mattress in our office.
yeah, but it
There
was
was
a
so many
very
people in the house.
nice, comfortable air mask. It wasn't just one of those that sink, so it's all good. But I'll tell you, I know how things work in families. Like it's not the guy may say one thing, but he has to check with the wife. So you obviously are on board. And I thought that was really cool because, like I said, even when I signed the book, I thought these guys are really taking this seriously. This is not just yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
Lavi, within the church, are you currently involved in any ministry within the church?
So most of my role, I'd say in the past 10 years is supporting John in his ministries. Um, and, that means staying back in the background. I pray for him and all he does. My favorite is when he starts his worship sets, practicing on Monday. He practices every day. I hear him sing. He's in the office going through the chords and it sounds horrid. And I'm like, oh Lord, no, this can't be. And I just pray for him every time. So I'm in the background right now. I pray for him for not only what's happening at our local church, because I think you have to be involved in serving in your local church before you um, go on investing in missions. Um, I think our ministry is with our families first and foremost, with our spouses and with our children. We need to,
Yeah.
we are the ones that are bringing our children to Christ. And I don't think we should be ministering to the world when we're not doing it in our own home. So that's number one. So I'm really a lot in the background right now. When it comes to Charity Cup, one of the things the Lord put on our hearts simultaneously, and I love how this works. So many times, John will have something, he'll be praying about it, kind of thinking about it, ruminating on it. I'll have a very similar nudge from the Lord. And then he'll say, hey, baby, you know what I've been thinking about lately? And one of the things that came up probably 8 years ago was we want to be more involved in financially supporting missions. And so we sat down and looked at our budget and how can we make this happen? And we were aligned. Like, I was like, that's what I've been praying for. And he's like, that's what I've been having on my heart. So things like that, I think it's awesome to just see it happen in a family. So serving more in the background and supporting most of what John's doing. Um, and then just with a lot of younger girls, younger moms, um, people that God brings into my life through either the Romanian community or the church community or where I work. Um, I'm intentionally investing a lot more in people. A lot of times women just have something on their heart. They just need to get it out and go through it and say, how did you do this? Or what do you think? And it's mostly listening and directing them back to what's God telling you, um, opposed to just giving advice, do this, do that. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. And definitely the heart of missions is still there. And I'm so excited to hopefully this summer is the summer I can take the kids to Tanzania.
Yeah,
Which
and speaking of your kids, I did meet your kids. Obviously I met them in Tanzania, so Kennedy, Kayla, and
Matthias.
Matthias, right? Matthias. I got to meet Matthias more this last time I was there because we actually ended up playing pickleball together on the same team. So it was a really great pleasure to get to know him a little bit. I think we played against Kayla, but I got to connect a little bit with Matthias, right? And that was really cool because I don't know, he had a really cool vibe about him, and just like we got better as we went, although we were haven't played in a long time, but he had like this very positive attitude. So anyway, kudos to you guys for the great kids. Kennedy, I got to talk about. I was so like blown away by like she had this very broad knowledge about world events and politics. So that's awesome. But that's really cool. So sounds like you might be going to Tanzania maybe with them this time around, maybe in the summer. And if
Hope
there's
so.
others out there that
I hope so. It's a long time coming. Very long time coming. So we're just excited to go full circle with them.
so basically since you were going to Moldova, the Moldova days, you haven't gone on a trip yet, right?
I haven't gone since I was pregnant with Kennedy. I had three
Which
kids in 4 years, and I
okay.
haven't gone since. But
Okay,
again,
so
supporting and he's been to Honduras,
yep.
he's been to Africa, and continuously he's been on the board. But I have not physically been in quite a while. I went on a
Yeah.
local missions to Mexico several years back, but I haven't been with Charity Cup in a very long time.
So I definitely we're gonna really unpack the whole medical because I think it'll be fun. There's be a lot of reminiscing going on too. But let me ask you, from a career standpoint, like what are you doing now? Because not only from a family standpoint, you have a lot going on, but from a career standpoint,
Yeah. So John and I talked about we want our life to look like when we were engaged and kind of what do we do? Who's going to, dividing like the responsibilities in the home and what do we want our life to look like? And am I going to continue working? Am I not? And we both had a piece that I should continue working. I worked as a nurse in research for many, many years. Went back, got my master's in research since I worked in oncology research for so long. And then recently finished my PhD. And the Lord opened up a door right before COVID. So until COVID, I had only worked in hospitals, University of Toronto, and then here in California at a couple of the Providence hospitals running their oncology research. And my niece, my younger sister Lydia's youngest child, her fourth child is Elizabeth, and she's a miracle. Um, God made her perfectly the way she's meant to be. She has a rare genetic condition called um, Noonan syndrome, and she has one of the rarest forms called RAF1. So
Hmm.
in the meantime, the Lord opened a door where um, a drug company, the medical team wanted me to come on and work on their medical team and work on rasopathies, which is the same disease line, the conditions that Elizabeth has. There's about a dozen different genetic conditions, and I work on a different genetic condition. But I have opportunities to meet researchers and go to some of the same conferences where they talk about Noonan syndrome that I there then can discuss with my sister. So it was just meant to be. When the Lord opened that door, I was like, oh yeah, it's time to leave the hospital. So now I'm on the back end of the medical team. I work with researchers and clinicians on the West Coast who are interested in conducting a clinical trial or discuss what's going well in the clinical trial, what's not, what do we do next? So all that about the disease state. Um, yeah. So again, God just opened that door and it was time to go through it. It was meant to be. So I have always worked full time. I've had a peace about it. Yes, I've had mom guilt at certain times. Um, but everyone's path and everyone's story and everyone's purpose is different. And I
Yeah.
know this is meant to be from the Lord. I've had so many confirmations and opportunities to witness where I work. Um, it's just been incredible.
Yeah. No, how in the world were you able to juggle like basically raising four kids and finishing a degree, another degree, and that's quite a
I wish we
feat.
would have had the fourth child. Three kids.
Fourth,
It's all
three.
John.
I'm sorry, my bad. Sorry.
It's all John. It's partnership. He supported. He, put his hands in. He'd do the dishes, clean up while I would go in the office after the kids' bedtime and finish my schooling. Same thing. Um, Early mornings, he'd take the kids sometimes to go to the park and give me 2 hours while he takes them to the park and does something with them. And then they come back and then I have the whole day with them. By then it's like 9 a.m. Children wake up early when they're young.
Yeah.
Um, so it was all John's support. It couldn't have done it without him. He
You're
always
being very
encouraged me to
humble, I'm
continue.
sure.
What's that?
I said you're being very humble, I think,
No,
but
it's genuinely a partnership. Yeah.
that's really cool. But obviously you guys made it work wonderfully because so you basically had to go back to doing homework and whatever, studying, taking tests, quizzes, that's very commendable after having kids because I think it's not that simple to do that and at that capacity too. So
It,
congratulations. And
it, it
now,
was a lot of fun. Thank you.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I hope the Lord, and I know the Lord will use this role that you're in for His glory because you have that mindset. You've always had it. So let's go back and hopefully we can use this new role of yours and maybe in a charity cup capacity somehow. I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll see. When you go to Tanzania, maybe you open a hospital. I don't know. We'll see. Because because that's exactly how this thing got started with the medical ministry. It was right. It was not planned.
No,
Right? So I don't know, maybe take us back to that, how did you start the medical ministry? Which, by the way, before we go into that, I just wanna tell you that I think it's one of the most impacting ministries that we have in our portfolio, if you would, because as I was telling John, I think some of the other projects like the soccer, it's nice, of course, we're reaching people, we're breaking down walls, and even some of the humanitarian things, like when people are on money, they're on money, but they're not hurting physically.
right.
I When you're hurting physically and you may be on your deathbed or there's life-threatening things going on, you're gonna listen a lot more. And like, I think this ministry is unbelievable, essentially, is what I want to tell you. So I don't know how you came up with it, but
It's actually, I think, like you said, it's the easiest form of ministry because people are more open for help or hearing the word when they're suffering on different levels. Is it emotional, physical? Is it trauma from the past that's still emerging? Are they under oppression? And I think it's so much easier to connect with people and have a genuine dialogue when they're going through a crisis or going through something very difficult, opposed to when life is good. So in that aspect, I think it's the lowest hanging fruit when you're thinking, how can I impact a bigger group? Other than VBS with children, which is so impactful. How many times have we heard in Moldova they went home and told their parents what they learned, and their
yeah,
parents came in the evening to see what's this goodness about? So, but yeah, it started way back. I was reflecting on, what really sparked my heart for missions. I think it was in the early 90s or mid 90s when I was attending the First Romanian Baptist Church in Rochester, Michigan, under the late Dr. Benny Cocad. He was an amazing pastor. And I don't know if you remember Sora Genevieva Sfatku. Her
yep,
name is now Genevieva Sfatku Bidi. So actually,
yep,
I'm friends with her niece who has her namesake, the same
yeah,
Genevieva Sfatku. She's a Gog now.
yep,
So this woman was the first woman who planted that first seed of missions in my life. She came to our church, um, and I had no idea being there that day would change the trajectory of my life. So I wasn't really a believer at the time. I hadn't committed my life to the Lord, although I felt the Lord knocking and nudging me so many times. I put it off for like 8 years. Um, but I was unrefined when I was young. I was loud. I was energetic. I had limited skills that I thought could be applied to God's kingdom. So I didn't feel like there was a place for me to serve the Lord. And everyone around me in ministry was well polished and calm and articulate. And I was like this spaz wrecking ball that came in the room. And so I always felt like, I don't, why should I become a Christian? Like, where am I going to serve? I don't get it. There's nothing for me. And then Genevieve stepped up to the pulpit, and I looked up from my hymn book. I remember I was sitting in the back, and I was so captivated by her for the next hour because of her passion, her unfiltered boldness for Christ and serving his kingdom. And she was the first woman I could recall that came up and addressed our congregation from the front of the church. I don't know if you remember, but back then that was a big deal. You didn't go up to the front of the church unless you were a deacon of the church. There wasn't even worship teams at the time. So
yeah,
she got up there. She was unfazed by rigid traditions. And I'm not saying those traditions are wrong. It's just the culture of the time. And she was so bold in proclaiming biblical truths without fear of offending others, right? Well, since then, she's written many songs and books. I've just started devouring her books. I received them in the mail a couple weeks ago, and her life story is incredible. If you have a chance, please look her up. She has over 700 YouTube videos. Um, then shortly after she was at our church, Fratele Pindik Blaj came with Miku Samaritan and presented
yep,
ministry at our church. And my sister Lydia was the first one that went with you and some of the others
yeah,
on mission trip. I think it was
yep,
1994 or 95. And then soon after I accepted Christ, I went on my first mission trip to Moldova with Miku Samaritan, and we spent, I don't know, 4 weeks with the kids there. Um, and then many years after that, when thank goodness you and Danny Hadan started Charity Cup and gave me an opportunity to continue serving. Um, and the medical team, I'll never forget this. Filubano, like he's not that much older than me, but he's so wise. And spiritually, he was very mature, way beyond what I was. And after the first year of going with Miko Samaritan, and I kind of helped, I was in nursing school. And so some of the local village people would come to the camp where we were with the orphans because they had medical needs. And I remember helping some of them in the middle of the night. And I was there with Natasha. Do you remember Natasha
yeah,
Grishka from Moldova? She
yeah,
was
of
pivotal.
course,
And Sora Sveta. And then her
yep.
daughter, Christina, who's now an oral surgeon, dental surgeon in Romania.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I remember being able to physically help. And I remember thinking, oh, this is great. I can actually do something, right? I have something of value to offer. And Philu Banu told me the next year, he's like, we need you at the boys soccer camp. We need a nurse. I was like, okay. The year after that, I'm like, I'm not sure where I should be serving. And he's like, Lavi, look for a need. Like, where is there a gap? Where is there a need? And where can you fill it with the skills you have? Like, don't overthink it. And if nothing exists, then start it. And he was just so like matter of fact. And I thought, okay. So we started doing home visits. The first medical admissions was home visits. We partnered with the local pastors who told us who's bedridden, who's at home ill with cancer, who has been, under psychological and having mental health issues. And we went to their house. And I would go with one of the pastors or the deacons, and we went with a prayer group. And just being there and being invited in and being able to pray with someone, have them unload their story, and being able to help with little things. We were doing bed sores, diabetics were taking care of their feet. Some women hadn't bathed or washed or had their hair done in a long time. So it started very basic. And I remember Philu telling me, if it's from the Lord, it's beyond you. And all you have to do is share the vision and people will come. It's like Field
Yeah.
of Dreams, remember? If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
so right. All I had to do after that is share the vision, and every year the Lord provided people. And then
Yeah.
we started the dental clinic. Then we started the brick and mortar clinic. Now these are all seasonal, and the home visit. So at one time we had 3 different med teams every summer, and we always had the right people. The Lord sent Kathy and Alina. Do you remember they were med students in Yash at the time? Then
Yep.
pharmacists from different places in the world, and other doctors and practitioners and nurses. Monica Stremchuk from Arizona was a nurse.
Yep.
Abby Pope from here in California, a nurse practitioner. Laura Repede from here in California. So many people like heard and they came. They didn't know what they were getting into. Um, but yeah, that's how it started. And then I knew it was the Lord's work because the more the time went on, more people were coming, and I was going further and further in the background, doing more of the administrative, getting the registration, getting supplies, getting wheelchairs. You remember the year we brought so many wheelchairs? Um,
Yes.
so I see how the Lord helped me like naturally step back, and it was easy to transition into motherhood when I had 3 young kids in 4 years and couldn't go. But at the time, I
Yep.
didn't know, hindsight's always clearer. But, and then now Danny Ardelan and his wife Corey leading it for many years now, for over a decade. Um, and
Yeah.
it's just beautiful to see it continue. But yeah, it's all thanks to you and Danny Hadan for starting Charity Cup, and then for Filu for really just giving raw advice and not coddling, just being really honest.
Yeah. So, just going back a little bit to Genoveva, since you brought it up, I do know Genoveva. I mean, there's a lot of stories just on her life. I didn't know that Genoveva had a role into your life, coming into kind of knowing, I guess, becoming a Christian or follower. But there's probably a whole subject there with Genoveva. Yeah. Anyway, she was very, I would say, almost famous for her boldness, so I thought that's really cool. And then obviously Miko Samaria, I didn't know, or I forgot that you had gone on the mission trips initially to the little Samaritan camps. Now I remember because we went to Italy with a few of
Yeah.
us and Laura. Yeah, so we had after the trips, many times we would stop somewhere in Europe and visit a country. And I think we were in Italy that one time when you came, right? I think Laura not Laura, Lija Roshu was with us, I
Hmm.
think, or something like that, right? Is that the trip? Okay.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, so you're saying this sort of, you saw that there could be a need for this in Moldova, but you were more like tangentially helping here and there. You didn't have a defined role, right? Sort of in the kids camp that we were a part of
Right.
initially. Okay.
Other than being the camp nurse, which is great.
So
And I've
so
done it for
you were the
churches
camp
here too.
nurse for the orphanage camps?
Uh, I was helping Sorasveta way back then, and
Okay.
then in
I mean,
years
it's
after when she wasn't there.
okay. So I remember, I'll tell you the part that I remember more precisely was because when we started the soccer camps, we went the first year, I believe. I don't think you came the first year to the soccer camp,
My
right?
sister Lydia went.
Your sister went to, so I'm talking about the soccer camps, not the orphanage, because I think at the
Oh,
soccer
the
camps,
soccer camp. Yeah, no, I was
it
there
was,
from the
it
beginning.
was, you were the first year?
Yeah.
Okay. But my point is, it was mostly guys, happened to be, because obviously the camp was for guys initially. The vision was to have a bunch of young kids come and we would teach them how to play soccer, coach them in soccer, and then we would also share the gospel with them. So that was the premise. Now, most of the coaches were guys, so naturally there wasn't any girls. I think it was you pretty much the only one that came along as the nurse, because the kids would fall, they'd break their, I don't know, their knees, and somebody needed to patch them up.
Take him to the hospital sometimes,
So
yes.
I remember you coming in and doing that job amazingly. I don't know, did somebody join you maybe along the way to help in that
Yeah,
first
when
camp?
yeah, not the first one, but the second one, there were more boys and we needed help. So yeah, I did have a partner the second year.
Okay, so I do remember having a conversation with you, though. You were telling me, hey, Bora, something along the lines, I want you to know that next year I want to come, but I want to come and do like the medical project.
Oh,
So I'm like, what is the medical project? But I don't know, maybe you explained it, like, again, I don't remember the whole entire conversation, but I remember you telling me, listen, I'm not coming to soccer camp anymore because I want to do this medical project. So I'm like, great, let's do the medical project, whatever the heck that
yeah.
means. So,
So
so
I remember,
now
yeah,
go ahead.
I remember when I told you about it, you were so excited, and then I remember telling Philo about it because he was planning for the next year. Every year there was a different leader for the mission tour,
Yeah, yeah.
MT4, MT5, mission trip 6. And I remember when I told him uh, after he had built me up. So I went and started and saw where I could fill in. And then he didn't like the idea. He's like, no, we're going to do this, this, and this. And I was like, hang on, you got to hear my case and you got to hear. And then when he heard me articulate it a little further and the impact on the community and what was happening, then he was like, oh, yeah, you're onto something. Um, the only reason I bring that up is the road's not always easy. Sometimes bumps, but if you really believe in something, pray about it and petition for it. Don't give up. Um, and obviously it continued after that.
So I'm just telling you this because that's what I remember, that you're very decisive. And this is, I believe, on sort of towards the end of the second year of the camp, like the soccer camp was coming to an end. At that point, that was really kind of the only sort of charity cup project. Now, there was an orphanage project that was
Mhm.
going on, but it wasn't directly charity cup, if you would. It was something that started a long time ago. I was also
Right.
involved in that. But so the charity cup thing started at pretty much as a camp for soccer. So you came along, and I remember you like very decisively said, "Listen, next year I want to come, but do this." And you're very like decided. I'm like, that sounds great. I don't know what it means, but Lavi, you got this. So then I remember the next year, I don't know who came. You probably know, but I think you kind of took it on and ran with it. I don't think we had to do much as far as have Dan and I and whoever's involved, Filu. But I remember when I got to Kondrica, which is the initial camp, I don't know, you guys had a bunch of luggages. And I remember going, you guys, again, you're very organized. So I remember there was this room where everything was spread out. And I remember just looking in and thinking to myself, like, what what are we getting ourselves into? But then I'm like, these girls got it. Like, there's nothing to worry about. Like, there's like little ants are running around. Okay, this has got to go over there. It's got to go over there. Plant this one here. You guys are dividing it. So I don't know. Do you remember that?
Yeah. So what happened was I had a whole year to plan. And remember when we used to have the summits and we would present each ministry here at Big Bear and then people would sign up and register. So I was able to kind of develop the team earlier. That's when I had met Monica Stemchuk and then Abby and Laura. And so we had a whole year to plan. So we planned who's bringing what supplies are basic that we need. Um, who's bringing what? How are we getting it into the country? Which luggage is it going into? I mean, we prayed over those luggages. Our clothes
Yeah.
for ourselves were on our backpack, but our
Yeah.
carry-on and our two check luggages were full of supplies, most of which they were banned. And, we would pray that we could get through the border with antibiotics and so many other just basic um, supplies that we needed. And it grew every year. We were able to bring more until we sent that container the one year, which was a huge undertaking, but we were able to send a lot of supplies that the local church can then keep and the local nurses in the church can then continue. Because again, it wasn't just us coming. It was us partnering with the church or church
Yep.
planters and being there to support them in a tangible way. But yeah, we were very, and a lot of people would donate for specific things. So we were very accountable to our donors. Here's what you donated. Here's what we purchased. Here's a picture of them arriving on site. Here they are on the shelves, and here's us using them in the field. Um, and I think it's important to show people visual impact of what they're donating to. And so, yeah, it grew every year where we were able to bring in more and more supplies. And the first year with the dental clinics, it was barbaric. We had basins of water and used Coca-Cola bottles that we would fill with water at the well, and the dentist would try to do their work and they would spit in one and out the other. And then in subsequent years, we were able to purchase some equipment, a dental chair. We were able to purchase drills that hook up to water and the compression and all the battery behind it. And Danielle Delan took it to a whole new level to actually be able to do surgery, not just the tooth extractions that we were able to do with a basin and a bottle of water. I can't, it's beyond.
So,
And in the,
Lavia, the first year of the medical project, I think it was also coincidentally with the starting of this taking a village by a storm project, right? So just for the audience to understand, we would arrive in Moldova and meet at the central location in Kondrica. That was the initial city we would meet. It was actually this camp, a very communist looking camp with like these beds that when people would sleep, they would like sleep basically on the floor with their behind because it was so anyway. So we would all meet there. I don't know, the maybe in that year, I don't know, we had a 200, 100, I don't remember how many people came
yeah.
that year, but I would say that's where exponentially the ministry started growing. Okay, so you showed up, you had your team, we would split up and everybody would go with their project and they would have a leader, and you were the leader of the medical, but the medical would sort of be under the taking a village by a storm, as we call it, basically the village project, which had a bunch of other projects in it. And so the medical sort of fell under that, right? We were going to serve this village, Turnova, right? I believe that was the first one. So, okay. Um, did you have were you intimidated, like just going into this? The first, I don't know if you remember, but
Um, I think I was just more excited because I saw a place I could serve. I could be God's hands. Like I said, I grew up in this perfect, pristine Baptist church where you had to fit a mold, you had to be able to sing, you had to have really nice hair, and you had to be like the pastor's daughter or something. And I remember thinking, I'm never going to fit in. Like, this isn't my jam. This isn't my pond. And again, not that there's anything wrong with it. The Lord used that. I was saved in that church. I'm
yeah,
grateful for
yeah,
that
yeah,
church. But I just couldn't see where I could be that tangible person. And I realized early on, it's easy to listen to someone and help bandage them up as they're telling you their story and you pray with them. Like it was so impactful. Um, so I don't think I was as much intimidated as I was excited. And God brought all the right people. Lena Bachu, she started the pharmacy part. She helped me
yeah,
organize, okay, how are we going to run this clinic? Because we don't get to see the facility ahead of time where we're actually
right.
staying for the village project. So we would have to do a walkthrough. We'll do the waiting area here. We'll do the clinic here. We had 3 doctors. They go in the clinic, then they get their prescription. They come out to the pharmacy. And then the ones that were diabetic, we also did a foot clinic where it was incredible. Liana Yuga brought some of her friends and really took that on with Monica Stemchuk. And they were able to clean diabetics' feet, people who work in the fields who have these craters and these
Yeah,
sores that have dirt impact like in there, infection on their toes, feet, and we were able to bandage them, clean them, give them antibiotics, get them proper fitting shoes. Like that's life changing. When you see a little bunica whose feet just look torn up, like I just couldn't believe it. Um, and so it wasn't intimidating because God brought the right people every single year. And sometimes there was the core team and people would rotate through. Um, and God just brought people and people were like, oh, I could do this. Or I remember, do you remember that one year we had a lot of students from the seminary come with us, the seminary in Romania? And they're like, we're not sure where to serve. And one guy's like, how about if we hang out in the waiting room. And at first I was like, that's going to be intimidating. Man, they were so effective. They were praying with people while the nurse was taking their blood pressure and vitals. They would, those patients would go in the clinic, come out and want to talk to them again or want to come
Yeah.
back for the evening. Remember, we would do church every night and they would want to come
Yes.
back.
Of course.
Like,
Of course.
people just came and God brought all these people. So every station was manned by people who could help. And I remember younger kids from high school coming saying, I'm not sure I could fit in. I'm not in medical, but I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. We would plug them in the pharmacy, and the pharmacist would teach them how to organize the shelves, how to count the pills. And they got to experience it. And then they got hooked and they came next year. And they were able to lead something. Like even the diabetic foot thing, I think that was Monica's idea. And I'm like, you're right. We have a ton of diabetics.
So so that is definitely a project that I remember, the foot clinic, but did it happen the first year? Because
Not
I
the
want to
first
say, I
year.
thought, yeah,
That
right. I thought
that
the first year,
happened.
uh, later, right? I thought they came in later.
Yeah, the first year was small. It was just the home visits. Second year, we had the clinic and the pharmacy. No, second year, we had the dental clinic. Then the following year, we had the dental clinic, the medical clinic, the pharmacy, home visits, and the foot clinic.
And the foot spa. And then we had
Yeah.
eventually some haircut thing going on too.
Yes. Yes. I forgot about that. And do you remember those girls would actually sing and like minister to these women? Like when they did the hair salon, you think, "Oh, why would they do that?" Do you know how
Yeah.
impactful that is for someone who's never had their hair done and their nails and can just be feel beautiful for a day and be pampered? Those girls, you'd go in there, they'd be singing the most they would harmonize, they'd be singing, chatting, laughing. It was just such a respite for people. Same thing with the foot spa. Do you remember how bad it smelled in there? Those girls did
Uh,
not flinch. They were like, "I got this." They were down in there cleaning and gently, and they were professional. They knew what they were
well,
doing.
that's what I want to tell you, that I actually went in there one time, I don't know how much later, because the project eventually started out as a test, maybe, and then it just took off, the whole foot spa thing. I believe it was Monica Stremchuk's
Mhm.
idea. Shout out to Monica. I haven't seen her in a long time. But initially she was under sort of, she was on your team, right? And again, the same thing happened. Like, hey, I have this idea. Let's try it out next year. Is that kind of?
Yeah. And the coolest part about having a medical team with so many, divisions and departments is we'd try to regroup almost every evening. We would try to say, "Okay, before dinner at 6 o'clock, let's all get together, everybody share a highlight or a struggle, and then we'd pray about it." And it was so cool to hear what happened at the home visit. Or the home visit people would say, "I got a diabetic for you. They can't get here. They need a wheelchair. We need to build a ramp, get the boys to build a ramp in the morning, get them out of their house, come to the clinic, go to the foot spa, and check out their feet." For those who most of you probably know, diabetics, they lose a lot of neuropathic sensation in their extremities, especially their feet. So if they get cut or if there's a bruise, they don't feel it, but it can get infected, go systemic, and you can die from it. And so it was really cool to see, like, get together in the evening, or and then we would debrief. We would also meet in the mornings before we went out. Who's going here? Who's going there? Some of the younger kids would let them float around so they can kind of get a flavor on where they want to stay. Do they want to be in pharmacy? Do they want to go to home visits? So yeah, you're right. It kind of just it had different um, branches of the same core group, and it was just amazing.
So, I mean, it kind of became to me like a mini hospital, because there's so many different departments, and this was all kind of under your wing, that started with just a vision. I mean, there must have been like, I don't want to say a proud moment, but like just to see from an idea to go to this, where you probably had, I don't know, 30, 40 volunteers that just strictly for medical.
Oh, yeah. When you're in it, you don't realize how great it is or how much it's growing. But again, God brought the right people. I wasn't really alone. Like 1 year, Abby came and she's like, "I can do this, this, and this. I work at UCLA. I know this. I have these connections. I can get this donation." And we would all push really hard to get specific donations for things we needed. Um, and so I never remember being alone. Like it was always a team. And it was always people who were just passionate, wanted to serve. And again, it was a really cool opportunity to bring younger kids in high school that didn't know what they wanted to do with their lives. And I'm not saying they all went into medicine, some did, some didn't. But it was just a good chance for them to see different how you can minister to people, right? Because I'm not about beating people over the head with the Bible and standing on the street corner. That's not part of my personality or part of my repertoire, or I don't like people yelling at me. Um, you have to be kind of honest on what's your personality, what are your skills, and where can you apply it.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to bring the younger. I remember bringing the younger high school ones, and then some of them had amazing ideas, like the wheelchair thing happened when the home visit teams kept coming across people who couldn't come to church because they didn't have a wheelchair and they were bedridden and they couldn't walk. And so we realized we need a lot more wheelchairs than what we brought. And so someone took that on, like, okay, let's get a bunch of wheelchairs, get donations from different societies, different people, go to thrifting and find used wheelchairs. And then do you remember Diana Petrishor? She came one year and she
Yeah.
took on the whole wheelchair thing. Man, she was on fire. She got this little girl a wheelchair that she had promised her the year before, got her in that wheelchair, got her a cute little dress, did her hair. That little girl felt like a
I remember.
princess. Like
Yeah.
that's life changing. And Diana she was young. She wasn't even in high school. I think she was first year high school. And she saw a need and she stepped up and she just took it home.
Well, I think that's what was amazing. It's first of all, like you said, um, like God has unique people in his kingdom that have unique skills and passions, and they don't have to all be the same and do the same thing, like just the choir or whatever. And I think that you came in, and I remember with your hiking boots. Shout out to, I think you mentioned
I
that on
still
the other
have those
podcast.
hiking boots.
That's right. So I remember you were getting ready to go hiking any moment. No, I'm just kidding. But you mentioned this, so I'm bringing it up. But you kind of went and said, "Hey, I don't have the passion to serve in the capacity, but I wanted to do this. I wanted to try it out." And then I think people were inspired by that, and they said, "Hey, I want to help." And then this, like you said, a lot of them were very young, but there was this challenge that was put on their shoulders, and they stepped up to the plate, like Diana and others, Monica. That must have been very fulfilling. So, how many years did you lead the sort of the clinic?
I really don't remember. I was trying to reflect on it. I actually went through my old Hotmail account and I used to keep a folder for every year, MT3, MT4, MT5, MT6, and some of them I accidentally deleted. I'm not really sure. But it was a true blessing. And I remember, I can't remember one year I had to skip because I had classes that whole summer that I couldn't get out of. And the work continued. And that's when
Yeah,
I really knew, like, this is God's work. This isn't about me. The fact that the clinic can continue without me because there's people that stepped up and the Lord puts in place, I was so comfortable with that. I was like, this is awesome. This is going to continue for beyond us. And it's not, I read a lot I went through a real lonely time when I lived in Toronto and I read a lot, different authors. And I remember reading different missionaries and they all kind of had the same resounding message that it's not about you, it's about God's kingdom. And if you don't participate, God doesn't suffer and his kingdom doesn't suffer. It's you. You're missing out on God's blessings.
yeah,
You're the one missing out. And I remember one year I was so overwhelmed with what I had going on. And he was like, you got to come this summer. And I was like, I can't. I got this class and this. And he's like, no, you got to come. And I prayed about it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the one that's going to miss out on God's blessings if I don't go. God always
yeah,
finds people.
yeah, yeah. But he also wants people to, like to step up at, when he calls them, and you fill the
Right.
gap because it. So, Lavi, Ardelian and his medical, like the dental, is that like the second year? Did it happen that quickly, or it took a few years to?
No, I think that happened when when I got pregnant with Kennedy and I didn't go.
Okay, so you think it was a few years later because that took a
Yeah.
life of its own. I mean, it's obviously still going on today. So is the medical. But I,
Why I'm trying to think because I remember John and I went when we were engaged. We went when we were married, and then he went when I was pregnant with Kennedy, but obviously I couldn't go. I was like 6 months pregnant or 8 months pregnant. Um,
but
so I think it was around that time. So
I just think
probably
it.
17, 18 years ago.
Okay,
I don't remember.
so and I remember Abby stepping up. I think Ana Maria was part of it but. So the medical, the dental also took a life of its own. It's still going on today. So is the medical still going on. But I think some of those smaller projects stopped at one point. Like the foot spa, I don't think is actively going right now, which is kind of sad because I really think that was a very impacting project. So when somebody came up to you, I don't know, I think it was Monica, like, what was your thought? Like, what football? What? We're in Moldova. What do you mean
No,
football?
I
This
was
is
like,
not a
"This is
massage place.
perfect." It's perfect because we knew with the diabetics, we had to clean up those feet and get them on antibiotics, but not just antibiotics, we had to actually clean out those wounds and pack them, and then would have them come to the clinic every day to debride them and do the wound packing. Um, and 1 year or for a few years, we had the eyeglass clinic. Do you remember? We would bring glasses
Yeah,
and different prescriptions, and we had a student who was in optometry school, and he came and helped. And so, yeah, you're right. It's debate based on who was coming that year. Again, we didn't just plan in the 11th hour. We had the whole year to plan.
to plan.
And it was ongoing. I mean, I was
But
single at the time. I would put in like 20 hours a week in charity cut. After work, I was like registering people, contacting organizations. What can we get? What can we not get? What are the rules? What are the regulations? And then,
you were, yeah, absolutely. I remember there were emails flying all over the place all the time. And, I mean, there was nothing for us to do. You had this whole thing figured out. That's why I think it was really awesome. But I think it takes us a leader to also say, hey, yeah, let's do that. Let's try it. No, or versus like, yeah, it's not a good idea. I don't know. And then it kind of, that enthusiasm gets shut down. So, I mean, kudos to you that you're like, yeah, let's do it. Have this sort of can do
yeah.
attitude. I remember about the foot spa. One thing that was really special to me because I thought what was really cool is, yes, diabetics would come, but then I think you guys started expanding it to just anybody, right? So you
Mhm.
got these women
We did.
coming in that probably never had a pedicure in their whole
Yep.
entire life. And I believe even some guys, men came. But I remember I thought it was also a time to connect with them, like
Mhm.
especially with the women, to talk
Yep.
and kind of women to women, because there was usually girls that were doing this. Uh, I don't know how in the world did that happen? Because and then you guys would hand them these flip flops, right? They're like,
Yeah.
and they would just like walk home, and we would see them at night, inviting them back to service,
Right.
and that's how you guys would kind of know that hey, they were at the foot spot earlier.
Yeah. It was just beautiful. Like you said, you connect with people, you help them in a tangible way during the day. And then we would always tell them there's a service in the evening and they would come back. They would want to continue the discussion or they were so grateful to just be there and be part of it. And then they didn't want to leave at night. I don't know if you remember, sometimes we'd ask the kitchen, like, can we make more food? Is there more food? Can we get something? There's people who have been sitting in the service and then they worshiped and they hung out in the courtyard. They've been gone from home for 5, 6 hours. I'm thinking I'm hungry. They must be hungry. And I remember thinking, we gotta up the budget on snacks after, and there was a year where there were women who made prăjitură or, um, those placintas, langos and things, and we were able to, like, serve people because they were hungry. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I think a lot of that the ideas, I don't think I ever turned down an idea. When someone's passionate about something and it just makes sense, and it's a tangible way to help people, and I didn't know at the time, I've mentioned a few times now, the younger people that came on the team that didn't have a role or didn't know, I didn't realize at the time that we're ministering to them, getting them involved. That's how I
Yeah.
met Caitlin Pudach, who's a dear friend of mine now. She's younger than me. And I remember she came on the first trip and she wasn't sure where to get plugged in. And she tried the pharmacy for a while. And then she plugged into a few other departments until she found where she was like, yeah, this is where I can settle into. Um, I think that was really cool too. It was a lot of young kids who had passion, a lot of students, either high school, college, or beyond, um, young adults in our church who were already in the field working. And they're like, yeah, I'm an optometrist. I'll come with you. And I know someone, I can get us a bunch of glasses and I'll bring a vision chart. And so everyone just pulled together and did what they could. And I just think, like I said, it was amazing to see a way you can tangibly serve, and then they want to come back. The majority would come back in the evening, or they'd come to the clinic the next day and say, I brought my neighbor. She needs your help, but you guys don't know about her. She's not on your pastor's list. She doesn't go to church, but she needs help. And I remember one year we went and cleaned out her water well. Like there was just so much work to be done.
Right. So the medical, it wasn't just strictly the medical. You guys, as you went out and visited people, you discovered these other needs, and then you would invite another team of people to build something, to, like you said, to build a
Yeah.
ramp that was not directly involved to the medical. So let me ask you this. So obviously this baton that you started has continued, right? I mean, that must be awesome, right? That must be an awesome feeling that this vision that started with, I don't know, patching up some guy's knee turned into many, many thousands of people probably being served in this way and hearing the gospel. How does that feel like?
I never really thought about it over the years in that way. I was just grateful that got a chance to serve, um, and that there was an opportunity to do it, and that Filu was so bold and blunt with me, and that you guys invited me. I remember you guys invited me. We were standing in a church parking lot where Romanians always congregate for hours after
Yeah,
church. And you guys know, we're like, no, Lavi, you should come. And I said, what am I going to do? I don't want to be the only girl. And you're like, you can be the nurse at the soccer clinic. And I stayed busy during the day with other things. And I don't think I've ever shared, but I got a really good opportunity to work with the workers at the camp, the adults.
yeah,
That's kind of where it first sparked in me. They're like, well, I have this, I have that ailment. And so I would help them during the day when I wasn't busy with the boys. I'm like, okay, what are you taking for your diabetes? What are you doing for this? What?
yeah, yep,
And so it kind of started there.
yep,
The kitchen ladies would come to me.
yeah.
So it kind of started in the background just organically.
I think I
Um,
remember that because you're right. There were there's people, ladies that were making us the
and we hired,
food
yeah,
that
and
we
we hired,
hired, and you probably had some time to talk to them, and
yeah.
they
Or
probably
they,
had a million questions.
yeah, or they would bring their kids. They're like, listen, my husband can bring my daughter on Wednesday night and she's struggling with this. Can you guys help her? A lot of those people we couldn't help, but just being a sounding board, just being listening and praying with them and encouraging them. Um, I wasn't a mom at the time. I couldn't share mom advice, but I could get down on that girl's level and sit with her and talk to her. Um, yeah, so it just started organically, and looking back now, I'm just grateful I got to be part of that. This would have happened through someone, and I'm grateful that, I had the chance to be blessed by it. That's kinda how I see it.
Well, I mean, I think it was a blessing to have you on the team and to have this great legacy that continues, Lord willing, who knows how long. Yeah, so maybe you'll join us back or start a chapter in Tanzania or who knows where else, Lord. Not that you're birthing a chapter, maybe I don't know, stopped. I don't know, maybe I don't know if you guys are planning to have some more kids, but this could be a
That chapter's
good
done.
time.
That book is done. We threw that book away.
This could be a good time, Lavi, to start another another chapter somewhere else.
Right,
So, I don't know. I'm curious what would happen when you go to Tanzania. And now, obviously, we're looking to go to Cuba, which is probably another
right.
chapter. But Lavi, let me ask you. We had quite a good discussion with John, and he gave us his version of the facts of how you guys had met and got married. But we want to hear your version because it does tie into what we're talking about, the medical. So I don't know. Can you fill us in on how did this go
Um,
down?
I shared one snippet, with
Yeah.
Samida, Srinjit on the Multiply podcast a couple weeks ago, but I really fell in love with him on the mission field. I met him. He doesn't remember meeting me the first time. I remember meeting him because he was in Mission One and he was like the leader, and everybody knew who he was. And their music was great. Um, this was before worship teams and were common in Romanian churches. So it was really cool and refreshing to have like energetic music and not just solemn old communist songs, which I actually still like. I love going Wednesday nights to prayer and having those songs at our church. But it
Yeah.
was like, yes, I'm happy. I'm joyous. I have freedom in Christ. I want songs that reflect that. So I remember meeting him. He doesn't remember meeting me. And then when he does remember meeting me, his first thought was, I could never marry her or a girl like her. So it wasn't love at first sight, but he came on the mission trip and he was so positive, so energetic, so kind. Um, and I'll never forget, we went to, I think this was Dondoshen. And again, the pastors was kind of give us a list on who we need to go visit.
Before you go into John, let me ask, what was his role at the time? Was that his first time, or
Yeah,
because
that
you
was
had
his
kind of
first.
been you were
Yeah,
at
that
that
was his
point you were
first
kind
time.
of a veteran, right? Like you had come a few years, you were like the
It
boss.
wasn't his first time on a mission trip, but it was his first time with Charity Cup.
Okay.
He came on the medical trip or on the Charity Cup mission trip, and he came on the medical team, and he's a physical therapist. And I didn't know he was coming. He was one of the people I didn't know ahead of time. Most folks I knew, and I would have long
Okay, but I
discussions with.
want to set this context right because I think it's important. At that point, you were this was like what 3 4 years into the medical.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so the reason I'm saying that you were kind of the boss, right? So you knew who was coming, and many times you didn't know these people. It was strangers,
Right.
right? But
Right.
before, so did you know? Did you say you knew him when you saw his name on the list or not?
I didn't see his name on the list. He showed up at the first meeting in Moldova. I didn't even know he was
Okay,
coming.
which I think John might have mentioned that they're like telling me pick a project or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, in his we can refer back to his podcast. So you're saying that was the
Well,
first time you met him?
well, he was in mission one with George, and George had been on the trip
Yes,
on missions.
correct.
So he had his people there. He just didn't know me.
I
Um,
see.
and I had met him, but he didn't remember meeting me. So he came, um, and he was so much fun, and he was so kind, and he was just like this positive energy in the group. He kind of, I don't know, he's always humming and singing. Like you're walking down the road, and he's just always happy. And he came on the mission trip, and there's this professora, the French professor in the village, who hadn't been out of her home for a decade. I don't know if you ever got to see her. Okay, so picture this.
I heard part of the story, but
Right. So I went with Abby and a couple girls to assess the situation, like what's the home? What can we do for her? She was in her bed. She had a little pilot to cook, like a little stove next to her makeshift. Her uh her potty was on the other side of her bed. Everything was in arm's reach. She had not gotten out of that bed for a decade, had not had a shower in a decade. She would only sponge bathe. With when someone would bring her well water, her neighbor would bring her well water every morning, check in on her. She The state of her condition was unbearable. When we walked into that home, the stench, I instantly, like, I was trying not to react, and I couldn't breathe. So we opened the windows, we talked to her, went back, we got a team to come. First, we had to build a ramp to get her out of the house. And John came. He's like, I'm a physical therapist. I want to come see this lady. And I'm like, I don't know if you can do much for her. She's bedridden. He's like, I got it. So he's in there with one of the doctors assessing her, seeing if they can get her up. He lifts up her arm. Okay, so she was really heavy set. She was elderly. He lifts up her arm. Now picture an arm, someone who hadn't showered in a decade.
yeah, no
Didn't
kidding.
care. He lifted up her arm, took her arm, put it around his shoulders. Okay. And with the help of other guys, after they built the ramp, they hoisted her into a wheelchair, took her outside. And at that point, I had to walk out. Like I was holding back. I was trying not to throw up because the smell was just so horrid. So the girls
Yeah,
cleaned her up. He waited outside, and then they took her for a walk. She was in tears. She's like, I have not had sunlight on my body in a decade. Neighbors came out, were in tears looking at her. Like, this is life changing. Like, how else can you show God's love by something so basic as helping a human being go outside and take a bath or a shower? Um, and I remember asking him after we had the debriefing, and then I pulled him aside and I said, how did you do that? Like we even had, I forgot there's an ointment you put on your upper lip for smells that we use in the hospital. We all had that on, and I still couldn't take the smell. I said, how did you do that? And he looked at me and he goes, do you really think sweat and smell is going to hold me back from bringing somebody joy? Like the joy in something basic, like sun on their face? And I felt so shallow and so small. I was like, he's so right. But I remember thinking, oh my goodness, if he can do that for a stranger, how amazing would he be as a husband for someone that he loves, right? And I just saw him working like that. Like he would go at night when everyone's like debriefing and having fun together. He would go work with another boy who hadn't walked in years, and he was teaching him how to rewalk after he'd had an accident when he was a teenager. But that boy was too embarrassed to walk during the day. He didn't want people to see him stumble. So John would go work with him every evening late at night, him and one other guy. I didn't know about that for a while. He kind of kept that on the down low. Um, and that boy then learned to function. He learned how to fully walk, got a job, moved to a village. Like he went on. He wasn't bedridden anymore since high school. And just seeing him work like that really showed me who his heart is. And then Ladies, for those of you listening going on a mission trip, watch how a guy treats all ladies, not just the ones that he likes or the pick me girls, but how does he treat all ladies? That really tells you what a guy is like at the core of his heart. And I would see
Yeah.
John from a distance on the other side of the camp. When there was a need, he'd be the first one to say, "Hey," grab a guy and say, let's go unload these boxes. He'd hold the door for the girls going in the dining hall. Um, he'd be the first one to set up the chairs at chapel in the morning and the last one to tear down. Like those are the little things where you're like, that's a man. That guy's got character, he's got integrity, he's got a servant's heart. And again, if he can serve strangers and people who don't smell or look good, how much more can he love on his family? And that's where I was just like hooked. But I wasn't attracted to him yet.
So you're his boss, technically in this context. Was that, do you think that was in like, well, how did he take that?
I don't know. He was joking about it, kind of like you are now. I didn't see it that way, but yeah, I did use the trump card on him a couple times. Like, sorry, got to do this. Uh, no, he was
Yeah.
respectful, kind. He actually told me years later that he really admired that I did that and took lead. And he liked my leadership style, so that was reassuring. I didn't know that at the time, but he was
Well,
kind of watching me on the back end too.
uh-huh. Now, I think it's important to note here that John was also the leader of the mission, the Mission
Mission
One
one.
group. So he was a musician. He could have just said, "This is not for me. I sing. I'm a star."
Oh, he wasn't like
I
that at all.
Right. That's what I'm saying, and I told John this on the podcast because that is kind of the attitude many times. Like I just lead worship. That's not. This is not. And I told him, dude, I thought that was really amazing that you got into that out of your comfort zone. Like I told him, I don't think I could do that. Like we talked about Sergio and taking him out. So that is amazing. And I told him, and I think that's one of the things I really appreciate about Mission One when we kind of started working together. And I told this to John and to George. They were more than just about music, right? It was we were ready to get our hands dirty if we need to. Anyway, okay. So okay, so you're saying it didn't quite happen immediately, but
I loved his
what
personality and
happened?
character. I just wasn't attracted to him physically. And
Okay.
then,
But was he making moves? I mean, was he
no,
interested
not
or
on the
what
mission
happened?
trip. No, no, on the mission trip, he
No,
was
because we're
normal.
not allowed. Okay, guys,
He
we were
treated
not
me like he
allowed.
treated everybody else. But remember, you were saying earlier when we started talking, there was the base camp where we set up, we're taking everything
Yeah.
out, inventorying, getting to know our team, kind of like how to do missions. Like, I mean, it was a crash course. Like, you guys did a great job giving us talking points and how to kind of try to create unity with strangers from around the world, right? We're all from different continents.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yep.
trying to unify a team in a very short time is not
Yep.
an easy task, especially with
Yeah.
different personalities and cultural
Yep.
differences. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I was just organic, but I was attracted to him, his personality. Well, I was attracted to his personality and his mind and his heart, but I wasn't attracted to him physically. Um, but I saw how humble he was. Like after working in the clinic all day, he'd go help set up the wires and cables for church that night. He'd help tune the guitars. He'd help sing. Like he was not idle at all. Um, and then at the wrap up camp. So we stay at the base camp, get ready for missions, do the
The
missions the whole week.
the
And then at
evaluation
a
camp.
debrief
Okay.
eval camp, that's where he kind of told me, um, he told me he was interested.
Oh,
And
so
I
you're
wasn't.
saying he did notice, obviously, whatever. I didn't fully dive deep into that side of the story, but you're saying so basically he began with interest.
Yeah, he
Okay.
told me he was interested there, but I wasn't. And I told, I think it was Eleanor had down in Montjuic around the mission trip that year. And I told the girls that night, I'm like, you won't believe what John said to me. And they're like, go for him. He's great. But I just wasn't attracted to him. So I prayed about it. I went to bed. I'm like, Lord, if you want me to like him, like, I can't. I'm not attracted to him. I woke up in the morning and since that day, I look at him, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's just so handsome. He's the most handsome guy I've ever seen. Yeah. So the next day I couldn't talk to him the whole next day. I was blushing. I think I'm blushing now. I was like, I could not look at him. I'm like, he's so cute. What happened overnight? Um, yeah. So it went from there. But then, we dated for 9 months and then he dumped me. I don't know if he ever told you that.
Yeah, that. the rest is history. I mean, that happens, and but the initial spark, I was curious, how did it go down? But I know, a lot of us, you break ups and you end up back together, and many times it's the same person you had to break up with, and you thought you're never gonna get back together. But yeah, well, you were in Detroit, you was in California,
Right.
right?
Well, I was in
And
Canada.
you were in
Yeah,
Canada, not even in Detroit.
I was
Did
in
you
Toronto.
eventually? I don't know. Did you move to California just temporarily before
No,
this,
I
or
moved
not?
here on a work visa. Um, I think it was a year after we had broken up. We were still friends, good friends, and then we got back together after I had moved here, and we're in the same friend group. And a little while later, we got back together. But he had told
No.
me the same thing. He said, I saw you on the mission trip, and he goes, "That was a good test. Like, you see girls out of their comfort zone. You don't have fresh water. You don't smell as great. Your hair, it has to be oily and slick back, and you still carried yourself well, and how you dealt with people, and things go wrong. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong on a mission trip, or a part that you really needed for a tool doesn't show up, and then you have to improvise. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong when it's God's work on the mission field, and there's always, setbacks." Um, and so he saw me through that, and he's like, "Yeah, I just saw your character. I saw how you dealt with people. You were positive about things." But I didn't know this in the time. I didn't know he was watching me. I definitely was not watching him, but I did see the things he would do. And I was like, wow, that guy's got
Yeah.
integrity.
And I mean, now 3 kids later in a beautiful home, and yeah, there, God had. I mean, it's a story that who could have written better? I mean, only God knows how to write that better. So yeah, and that's awesome. And I was telling John, there's probably quite a few other weddings that started within the Charity Cup world. I don't know if the mission trip necessarily, but Adi and I at one point, Adi Ambrosio, we were trying to count. I think I'm in the hundreds, I believe. Not necessarily directly, but indirectly. Whether they came to the tournament, blah blah blah, they saw somebody, but there's a
Yep.
lot of people. Thank God, and I think that's a ministry in itself because it's needed.
Yes.
Why meet
Go on
somebody?
a
I don't
mission
know.
trip.
Absolutely. Why meet somebody? I don't know, somewhere else. I don't want to mention it because I don't want people to go there, but why not? This is a great context. Don't do it during the mission trip because we want people to focus. Then you guys are all business. Everything was business. I remember it was very business. Like the morning, right? You would have maybe give us just a quick snippet of what your day looked like as
Well, we had
as a
we
medical
had the
team.
leaders meeting in the morning. So whoever led one of the branches, well, we had the Charity Cup leaders meeting, but right after that, the prayer and Charity Cup. So the leaders, we woke up, I think, an hour or an hour and a half before we woke up everybody else. And then with the medical team would get together real quick and would be like, okay, let's review the agenda for the day. Who's going where? Do any of the younger kids want to switch projects? Who are you taking them? Like, you also got to think about safety, right? You're walking through a village, so
Yeah,
we made sure we had men, and they were typically um the one of the local pastors or one of our pastors or the boys from the seminary school. We always had groups, so we didn't let anybody go anywhere alone. Not even just a group of girls. We always had a guy on the team if it was more girls. So we would discuss the logistics for the day. Did anything go wrong from yesterday that we can correct quickly, or what do we need to correct today? Or we are all out of antibiotics. Amazingly, in 2 days they're gone. So we'd have to pivot, get a van, go to the city with Natasha, get more medication, come back. Like, there was just always these little things. So we'd have that quick meeting in the morning, pray about it again, go about our own ways. I was able to kind of check in on all the groups during the day. I remember one year Dave Misty helped me a lot because there was just too many projects. And so he would help me go around. Um, and then again, debrief in the evening and plan with the pastors like, hey, we went to see this lady, but their neighbor also needs help with this. Who can we send?
yeah,
And what are their needs? Do they want to pray? Do they want, you know, the pastoral care? Do they need a nurse? Do they need someone to build something for them or fix a leaking roof? So it was just kind of organic, but yeah, you had to really stay on top of it. And especially we couldn't promise things, right? You had to be really careful not to give false hope on the tangible things we could do. But that's where it was beautiful, where the pastors knew who we had gone to meet with. And at the debrief camp, we would talk to them about all the names and papers that we collected, and we had told the patients, "We're gonna connect you with the local church." And then they would go during the year. And I remember trying to supply, um, medical supplies for the one nurse in the church who took that on herself for the rest of the year beyond
Yeah.
charity cut. So,
Lavi, I want to mention that, the meetings would happen and then the project would start. And these were not just like, if you're thinking as a, as a somebody watching this, that it was sort of like, well, I'm sure the projects were like very light-hearted. Like you kind of went, like you fit in. It
no.
was not like that. It was like hardcore go.
Yeah.
Like there was no stopping. There was like hands on all deck, and it was not you were not on vacation 100%.
Oh,
I mean,
no. No, it was exhausting.
yeah. So by the time you guys got to the debriefing, I think people wanted to go to sleep, but you kind of wanted to
No,
get
they all
ready for
wanted
the
to be
next
there.
day. They wanted to be there to the brief. Okay.
Yeah,
But I'm
and
saying
then
you were dead exhausted. It wasn't like, oh, I just well, great, let's go have fun. It was a lot of hard work is
yeah.
what I'm trying to say.
No, there's
Because
a
yeah,
supernatural power when you're on mission trips. I mean, we
yeah,
would work for 12 hours, have dinner, shower, or whatever, go change our clothes, and would be at the church every evening, and then talk to people after, like the
yeah,
people that would come. So it was, I don't, to have youth on your side and have the Lord on your side, I don't know how we did it. I'm exhausted just
absolutely.
talking about it.
I'm glad there's a lot of things we didn't know because it'd probably get really paranoid and have done it because of the all the logistics and I don't know, liability nowadays. But I wanted to say it was not just like if you're thinking they were just there like watching and not touching it. No, they were like it was fully medical things
Yeah,
going on, like
nitty-gritty. Yeah,
nitty-gritty, like people were taking medication, separating it out, passing it out. There were checkups. It was like very hardcore, like a hospital. I mean,
right.
so I thought that was amazing how all that came together. In your tenure, what do you estimate? If you had to estimate, how many people do you guys think you saw and went through the medical clinic? What are your thoughts in the years that you were involved?
I think the first year it was only like 500 people, and then I'm I should have given it more thought. I can't remember.
I'm sure we have the number somewhere. I just off the top of your head, in the
Yeah.
thousands.
Over the years, definitely. Yes.
Definitely, right? That's what I think. So if this is just for this, not including the other projects, but to me the medical had, like I said, a special place because you had this one-on-one with the patient where you could share the gospel directly, not just like
Yeah.
by hearing in a crowd. And then you had a chance to connect with them much deeper by even going their home sometimes. So anyway, that's yeah, awesome legacy. So thank you for sharing also the story with John and all of that. I assume this also created a lot of friendships, right? I mean, you left
Yeah.
from there and it probably friendships for life. Whoever you serve next to, maybe just it just takes one summer and
Yeah.
I mean, and
No,
from my experience, right? You're probably friends for life with a lot of these girls, ladies.
100%.
Yeah.
I think a lot of our closest circle of friends are through Charity Cup.
Yeah, same here. I mean,
And
that's
we
definitely
Yeah,
yeah.
and
Praise
it's
God for
great.
that.
It's great
Yeah.
because, being Romanians, you could not see each other for 6 months or a year or 2 years, and then they come over, and it's like you didn't skip a beat. You're still right back, and you could share stories and understand each other, and, yeah, definitely. I'm so grateful for Genevieve Svatku, Pinique Blaj, and the Little Samaritan, and for you and Danny Hebdan for starting Charity Cup. Like, I can't imagine where my life would be without it. Um, I wouldn't have gotten involved. I wouldn't have been so passionate about even my career and my personal life or as organized. Um, I was able to lead teams in my career and lead departments. I'd already had experience on the mission field
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
giving presentations. And it's like they kind of went hand in hand. I didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
You're just young, you just kind of do things. Um, but it was just such a good opportunity, and these friendships continue. And now it's really cool to see our kids becoming friends or serving on the mission
Absolutely.
trip together. Um, Sam and
I'm
Jenny Raetsky have been longtime supporters of Charity Cup, either on the back end or on the field. And Jenny went last year with her twins, not the little one, not the little guy, but with her twins, the
yeah.
teenager. And her twins went the year before with their dad, and it's like they got to know my kids, and it's just it's going into the next generation, and I think it's just really cool to have a safe, wholesome, well-established organization that you can trust, that's legitimate. It's not trying to do something out of the sphere. Like I'm a really big proponent on make sure you're connected with the local church or church planting and have someone there. We're not there to fix your life. We're not there to do something
Yeah.
grandiose. We're there to support the ministry you guys have. So we come and partner. And that's
Yeah.
what I connect with. And I believe strongly in that as believers. That's how we can support the body of Christ. It doesn't have to be something big and flashy and showy. Um, but
I
that's
think you bring up a very good point because I remember there was a very precise, or how can I say it? You guys were very adamant about conducting the information and passing it on to the local church so it can be followed up. It wasn't just, hey, we're going to be out of here. Nice seeing you. We'll see you next year. We try to have a chain of like a follow up after. And a
right.
lot of those guys, there was a church eventually planted in that village, and a lot of them did start coming to church. I don't know the full impact of everybody, but anyway, my point is that we do believe in the local church, so we try to hand them off to the local church. Um, so, by the way, the most popular, or the main topic of this last meeting we had, the board meeting, I would say a lot of it had to do with passing the baton to the next generation, that your kids and my kids are a little bit behind, but they're
Oh,
coming.
they're
They're
still
coming
young.
along. They're still young. But I thought that was really brave of you guys to dive, to bring them in and dive, like kind of basically plug them in. So, Lavi, I want to also kind of segue into another point as we maybe bring this to a close soon. I remember when I did meet you, when you came uh to the church in Detroit, right? We became friends. I didn't know you that well, but I mean, have you ever thought in your wildest dreams that like stepping into that church would lead to where you are today? And this whole experience of leading tons of people and
No,
in your
never.
wildest dreams?
I didn't even have a dream. Never. Um, no, I think God just gives you, I
Yeah.
think there's opportunities around you. You just have to kind of open your eyes and listen and look and see, just say a prayer about it. Like, is this something I can, you have to be attached to a greater purpose and you have to have community. And I think that's where you and Danny did a really good job with Charity Cup is forming community and maintaining community and establishing and maintaining it are two different things, but very difficult. And I think you've done that. And I think, like I said, when people hear the vision, it's easy for them to attach to it. If it's meant to be, it's not for everybody. And there's seasons in life, obviously, just like
Yeah.
hearing my story, there's seasons where you're active, where you're not, where you're supporting on the back end in different ways. Um, Never did I ever think that I would be part of something so incredible, something so rewarding, fulfilling, and all the blessings I got out of it, all the dear friendships. Like Eddie and Samida, I met them on the mission trip. They were in a different
Yep.
church. It gave me the opportunity to meet people from a different country, different church. I grew up Baptist. They're in the Pentecostal community. And I remember Eddie, he was always the first one in the morning. He'd be we had to brush our teeth in like this trough where there's like
Yeah. Yep. The trough. Yep.
you guys, it was old school primitive communist. Think back to like World War II days. Okay. Those are the kind of things we had: rusted water, sulfur water, no water. And I remember Eddie would be there every morning and he'd say good morning every morning to everyone brushing their teeth. And I was just like barely opening my eyes. I'm like, I haven't had coffee. You're annoying. But then I saw this was really his heart. Like he had a passion to make sure everybody on the mission trip was doing well. He was more connected to the people coming than the people we were serving. And then I would see him at lunch. He would take his lunch last, but he'd be at the cafeteria part where they're serving the lunch and he'd make sure everybody got food. Oh, you forgot your bread. You forgot this. Or let me carry that hot soup for you, for the ladies or for
Yeah.
whoever, you know? And I remember like just meeting him, meeting Samida, like all these friendships over the years, but never did I think that like when I first went to the church or met you and all the friends that flourished from there with Lau and Yulia Delan and the Roshus and just the
Yeah.
Raetskis and so many people. Um, and their kids have gone on mission trips or they've gone. And it's something that I never saw coming, and I'm glad I said yes. I'm glad I saw a need and took Fila's advice and plugged in where I could.
Yeah, I mean, it took somebody being also open to step in that door, right? And don't know where it's gonna go, but you open that door. By the way, I did recently talk to Eddie, and he was telling me that he Simida and was part of the medical project, and that's kind of how you guys became friends. And he was just explaining to me that I think when they went on the mission trip, they went on that trip. I think he was kind of eyeing Simida and
He was
was anyway.
testing her.
He was testing her. So he said it's interesting because like she started getting involved in medical. Like I wouldn't see her. Like she was like fully invested in that. And anyway, he explains it better than I do. But he was just saying how she got so immersed in the medical with you. So um, yeah, that's awesome.
Well,
Yeah. So
she since became a nurse.
right, right. So then you might have had a hand in that, maybe.
And I'll never forget when Eddie introduced me to her, and I went in the room, started talking to her, and I came out, and both Eddie and John were at the door. They're like, "How is she? What's she like?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? She's amazing. She's great. Why?" And I went on my way. And then I found out after that Eddie was testing her, and I was furious. I was like, "That's it. I'm going to tell this girl." They're like, "You can't tell her. Just let her be." I'm like, "Does she know that she's on a test here?" And John's like, "What do you think you're here for?" And I was
That's funny. That's funny. So actually I think I had a conversation with that, and I think I told him this because I remember him telling me something about Semida being there. And again, I didn't know him very well, but he we did. I remember something about that. So he must have shared it with me that hey, he's kind of I don't know if testing is the right word, but anyway,
oh, no, it
yeah,
was a
praise
test.
God. Yeah,
I
good,
remember.
good. Well, it's the right place to go. So, I mean, yeah. So, Lavi, again, I have this context of you coming to the church in Detroit and going on the trips. And anyway, you and I had shared also another unique experience that's tied to Charity Cup, which a lot of people don't know. And actually, George, so a lot of people don't know that me, you, and George were supposed to go to Australia and basically present Charity Cup there and start a chapter. But our friend George canceled on us,
I forgot about
but
this.
you and I went, and I
Yeah.
remember I don't think we flew on the same flight if I remember correctly. It's a really long flight. Was it on the same flight? I don't think
I don't
so
remember.
because I want to say probably flew from Toronto. And anyway, but the point is, I remember we ended up there together. George was gonna come, and we wanted to kind of see if we can start a community of Charity Cup in Australia.
Right.
This is a long time ago. So that was kind of pioneering. What do you remember about that trip? I remember we went to the youth conference there.
Yes, and I remember you were supposed to give a charity cup presentation, and 2 seconds before it started, you threw me on stage, and I had to do it.
It was really good.
I
That's
remember
why.
that. Um,
Ok-
yeah, I think things like that, like you guys being pioneers, and even in your personal life, it kind of resonates with your personalities. You guys are business owners, you're pioneers, you um, see a need, you go for it, you figure it out. And I think that was a good opportunity. And hopefully, I mean, Romanians are all over the world, and it's not just Romanians, but the older I get, the more partial I am to the Romanian community. Um, I think it's a good opportunity. And if, anybody is interested, just look at Charity Cup missions on the website and see what's coming up and where you can plug yourself in. It's not just Americans, it's people from all over the
yeah,
world.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, so just sticking back to the Australia trip real quick. I remember we made some good friends there. Shout out to Chloe, Maddie, I believe was the other gentleman that
Yeah.
we became friends with, and
We
some others.
captured
But
that.
these
Yeah.
guys, yeah, these guys kind of we hung out with, and we made. I still have friends that I remember to this day. We'd like to kind of go back to that continent, maybe start a soccer tournament. But that was also a really cool trip. I remember just what a great experience. And you were brave enough to to do this. So I thought that was cool. I remember we had rented some kind of I don't know if you remember. We landed in Sydney, and we had like one day before going to Melbourne, and I think we rented a Saab convertible, and
Oh, yes.
I remember like my head got all because the sun was so
Yeah. Our
strong.
scalp burnt. I remember.
So I remember that, but that was a great experience. I mean, just driving a convertible through Sydney, Geez, I'll never forget that, visiting some of the monuments
The
before
sand
we
dunes
yep. And then we went to Melbourne. Actually, the conference was in Brisbane. So
in Brisbane,
anyway,
yeah.
shout out to anybody that we met at that time and
Yeah,
some of the friends we made. But anyway, Lavi, I want to thank you for kind of again over the years this amazing experience and making yourself available to and to be available for God to work through you. I guess kind of one of the last questions I have: how did sort of this experience with Charity Cop and like you said, and you kind of alluded to this, how did it help you sort of in or it does it apply to your everyday like medical job or
yeah.
research?
It gave me the skills to be in front of people and to lead teams. I've had the blessing of leading a few different research teams, and at the beginning, you're asking me how I do it and how I work full time. And you're meant to be somewhere when you're praying about an opportunity to witness and they come to you and ask you. And I still have previous employees of mine who reach out to me on my birthday and say happy birthday from 15, 20 years ago. The last group I led, I still talk to them on a regular basis. They call me for different things in their life. One of the guys is a new believer, so sometimes he calls for prayer. And another friend of mine, Virella Pop, who we work together in the same office, and she got him his first Bible. Like we had opportunity to witness. Um, but just having, the opportunity to have an idea, know how to develop it, do the logistics of it, know how to share the vision, know how to do the annual reports. I was looking at
Hmm.
some old documents before we got on this call, and I was looking at the planning documents we had, and then the debrief documents, what went well, what didn't go well, what can we do next year. We had so like thousands of documents on that computer, and I'm thinking all those skills that it gave me to know how to apply it to my career definitely helped me.
Wow.
Even just being more open and talking to people and being on the mission trip really gave me an opportunity to just share what it means to be a believer in a normal way. Like I always thought Christians were boring and had to speak in monotone, proper, um, almost sad voices. Um, and it's not like that. There's freedom in Christ. And I was able to just say how God worked in
Yeah.
my life and, even trying to get pregnant, getting pregnant, having children, all the things you go through and how joyous it is to just be able to share that with each other and what works and what doesn't work and how God uh, impacted your life this week or what you're struggling with, right? We go through different struggles as
Yeah.
believers. Even being diligent in our studies, like, are we doing our daily devotions? But beyond that, are we deep diving to really study God's word? Um, Things like that. It's just, I don't know. Charity Cup gave me, yeah, a lot of leadership opportunities, I'd say.
Wow, that's great to hear. That's great to hear that it came in really handy as well from a professional standpoint. And as you shared with me over the weekend, when I was there, that you had a chance to share your testimony. Yeah, I mean, I think that's like I said. I think it's awesome that you're living with the perspective of making your life count. So, let me
100%.
kind of land this plane with like the final question here before I have one more thing. I wanted to ask you if you were to give advice to somebody younger or to look back in your life and you were to give advice for them to make their life count, what would you tell them?
It's a good question. I would say look at someone in your community that you admire, right? So if you're a girl, look at an older girl that you admire. If you're a younger guy, look for a guy that you look up to and approach them and tell them, like, hey, how did you do this in your life? Or can I hang out with you a little bit? Can I talk to you? Can I tell you what I'm going through? Can I develop a relationship with you? Can you be my mentor or can you kind of be my buddy? And can I call you once in a while? And I still have young moms at our church that'll say, can I call you once in a while? I got some stuff I want to run by you just once in a blue moon, or I'm struggling with this. So I would say approach somebody that you admire, respect, you like the way they lead their life, and you aspire to be like them. And it's not about them, it's about what God is doing in their life. Like, what are you drawn to about that person? And ask them for advice. Uh, Older people love investing in younger people. And they don't have to be old in their 40s, 50s. They could be, young adults, or they could be just one step ahead of you. You're in high school, they're in college. Go to them, ask for advice. And then I would say look for opportunities to serve, mission trips. It really shows you a part of yourself that you don't know existed, like the comforts you live in, what you hold on to, what's dear to you, what can you change in your life. A lot of the self-reflection stuff happens on a mission trip. And it's all quiet and personal, internal, those struggles. And they're really brought out on a mission trip. Get out of your comfort zone, go serve, um, find organizations that are legitimate to serve with, um, and tell your parents what's on your heart, what you're thinking about doing. Get their blessing, get their support. What do you want to do? But find a mentor, go on a mission trip, and serve in your local church. Get involved. You don't have to be the best singer. Um, our youngest, Matthias, and our oldest, Kennedy, don't sing. Matthias plays the drums, so he stepped up and he helps with the worship team, the junior worship team, and sometimes helps John when John's leading, if there isn't a drummer on schedule. And then Kennedy, she got involved in doing the lyrics on the screen, the AV team, like the media team. Sorry, that's the word. Get involved. Plug in somewhere in your church. Build a community. Get to know people. Be real. Just plug yourself in there. What's of interest to you? And it's okay to go from different thing to different thing. Does your church have a library that needs help? Does your church
Yeah.
have do they need help with the daycare at night in the evening church? Serve there. Like plug
Yeah.
yourself in, get to know people. And older people, don't be shy of parents, other parents. Let other parents kind of guide you and speak life into you. I remember so many adults on the mission trip would point certain things out in me that they'd say, you're really good at this, or you would be good at this, or you have a passion for this. I had no idea that existed in me. I didn't self-reflect. And so listen to other believers, especially the older ones that are telling you something, listen to that. Not all of it. There's bad advice out there, but listen to older people. Take their advice, your parents, people around you, your aunts, your uncles. Um, I
Yeah.
think that's my advice to younger people.
Very good. Very good. So hopefully there's a lot to get from this discussion. So, Lavi, the way I wrap up these podcasts, I have a sort of a segment called Perspectives, which is your perspective on a few words that I have here on these papers. I don't know, maybe along the way somewhere within Charity Cup, I might have done something like this before, and you were part of it because you've been around in Charity Cup for many years. So I don't know, maybe this is redundant. I'm sorry.
Is it the
But it's
personality test? Are you doing the color coding on me?
no, 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 no. That was a fun one to reflect on. That was actually really good. We read it on one of the trips. I remember everybody had those bracelets with their color, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's a whole nother discussion. That was a fun one. So no, these are just words, and whatever comes to mind within like 5 seconds or less, just share what's on your heart regarding this word. Like I said, in a very brief way. So let's start with the first one. You're gonna love it. What do you think about this? Politics.
Oh my goodness. I love politics. The older I get, the more I'm into politics. I think as believers, we should be informed what's happening in the world around us because everyone has a different political opinion. And it's almost like apologetics in the Christian world. You need to know what you believe in
Okay. What
and
do you
why
think
you vote
about
certain ways.
right? Okay. What are your thoughts about wealth? What do you think about wealth?
I tell my kids this all the time. The way we live and the way our life here in Yorba Linda is only a fraction of the world's population. People don't live like this. And I tell them, don't feel guilty about what you have, but think, why did God entrust you with what you have? So we're not wealthy. I'm not saying that, but we're wealthy compared to the majority of people around the world. What can you do with your wealth to bless others? And I'm thinking
Nice.
monetary wealth, right? What can you do with the monetary wealth to bless others? And then more so, I always tell my kids, your health is your biggest wealth.
Yeah.
And I tell them, eat healthy, stay healthy. And just, it's not about the exterior. It's about your body being able to do what you want it to do when you're older, right? Stay healthy.
Yeah.
And I tell them that no amount of money, like your wealth is more important. Your physical health is way more important than any monetary. wealth in
Absolutely.
your physical and spiritual. Yeah.
I'm yeah, I think the older people get, the more they realize that that is the wealth. What do you think about truth? What are your thoughts about truth?
It's the word of God, the only truth.
Awesome.
And that's how we have to
Okay,
live our
here's we're
lives.
switching it up a little bit, Lavi. What do you think about dating? What input do you have about dating?
Dating is good. It's good. It's natural. Let guys like be more receptive. Let them ask. You don't need to go ask. But dating is good. That's where you see what you like, but more importantly, what you don't like, what things you don't want in your life. I think you have to give people a chance and date someone to get to know who they are, right? Group dates are different, but like get to know people, obviously, depending on what age you're at. But I think dating is beautiful. I think guys should be asking girls out, um, more so, especially in the remaining community. I hear a lot of young adults saying then girls that are just spectacular, um, not getting asked out. So guys, yes, don't be afraid. Go ask a girl out. It's okay if she says no. And it's okay if you go out and then you don't like her. That's okay. Be honest, be gentle. Um, yes, you should be dating if you're
Okay.
single.
That's Lavi dating advice, guys. We'll drop her info below, okay? Dr. Ruth. Okay. Lavi, what do you think about love? What do you got to say about love?
Okay, aside from God's love, being in marriage is the best love ever. I absolutely love John, and he's the biggest blessing in my life. And as a result, our three amazing kids are our biggest blessing. And I just hope I can love them, like God loves his church and loves us.
Amen. Okay, now this is a given. What do you think about marriage?
It's the best. Marriage is great. But don't expect marriage to make you happy. You need to be happy before you're married. You need to work on yourself before you are married. No guy is going to make you happy. Happiness comes from your relationship and your heart with the Lord. And then the rest of it comes out of you, right? You got to work on yourself, work on your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health. Like, work on yourself. Don't just sit at home and wait for life to happen. Make it happen. And marriage is incredible. Marriage is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Lavi, on the next one, family. What do you think about family?
Family's everything. Family's everything. Um, Family is our number one ministry, and John and I are very firm on that. Um, our kids, our our relationship, John and I, and then our relationship with our kids is our number one, and then our local church, and then missions
Good, yeah, good
in that
reminder.
order.
That's yeah, in that order, and that's the only way it works well, probably. So very good. What do you think about church? Right, this kind of ties a little bit, maybe.
The older I get, the more I respect and love and adore churches and appreciate them. I don't think I appreciated church very much when I was younger. Um, just know that your pastors and leaders are doing the best they can. Um, Please encourage them. Oftentimes, as Romanian, we just share negative. We don't share a lot of positive, like, hey, that sermon really spoke to me, or I have a question about that sermon, or I see this verse different. Church is your community. It should be where your friends and your loved ones are. Be friendly at church, meet people. Um, I think it's such a blessing to have church. And I tell my kids this too. I'm like, your generation may not have the freedom to go to church. You might be going back to my grandparents' days where they had to do church in secret. And there may come a day in America where you're not free to go to church.
Hmm.
So invest in what you have, love it, and appreciate it. I think we take it for granted. And I think being involved in your church is extremely important, and serving in your church before you're even thinking of going on missions.
Yeah, awesome. What do you think about purpose?
I think you need to know your purpose in life. You have to know. I tell my kids this all the time too. Like, you're a daughter or the son of a king, and you need to know what's your purpose in life. How are you going to serve God? Why did He make you? Um, you have to know your purpose. And again, you need to know all this before you're married. Don't go into marriage thinking that you're going to become happy and then you'll find out your purpose in life. And no, know your
Yeah,
purpose. Check your heart with
yeah,
God.
good point. All right, death. What do you think about death?
Hmm. This is a tough one.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of the funerals I've been going to lately have been such beautiful celebrations of life and have really convicted me to hear what family has to say, what friends have to say, what their students had to say. Um, I think, you know, if you fought the good fight and you made it to heaven, I mean, we're all going to die. It's just timing and we don't know. And as sad as it is for the ones left behind, it's just one step closer to God and his kingdom, being with the Lord forever. And my hope and prayer is that everyone accepts Christ so that once we physically die on this earth, we're together with Christ for an eternity.
Yeah. Amen. Okay, eternity. Speaking of, what do you think about
I still
eternity?
can't comprehend the word eternity. I can't. My mind cannot. I'm a very visual person and I can't even conceptualize what the word eternity means. I just can't. Never have been able to. Sometimes I think I'm closer to understanding, but I'm really not.
Okay. What do you think, grand finale? What do you think about Jesus?
Jesus is my life. Um, Without his death on the cross for me, I would be miserable. I would be lost. Um, my life wouldn't be what it is. And that ultimate sacrifice for me, I don't deserve it. And I can't believe that I got to accept it and have his joy and his peace, even when things don't go wrong. I mean, don't go right and things are going wrong. Just having that internal peace and joy, knowing that Christ has got this. Um, yeah, Jesus is my King, my
That's
Lord and my
awesome.
Savior.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Lovey, thank you so much for sharing this time with us and then like this great discussion, unpacking a lot of different memories that we got to share sometimes along the years or our experience together on these amazing trips, right? And yeah, thank you so much. Um, do you have any, I don't know, last advice for the younger generation or anybody?
Just keep this podcast going. I love what you guys are doing. Pastor Ben at our church was preaching last night from Judges 2:10, talking about how Joshua's generation, they told their stories of the miracles that they witnessed and how God worked in their lives, but that next generation didn't have that relationship with Christ, didn't know Christ, and like all had Christ had done for Israel, but then the next generation didn't have that relationship. It really hit me last night. It was like devastating in my soul. And I'm thinking, not everybody goes to church, but thank goodness there's organizations and podcasts like this one, and Multiply, where the whole purpose is to share these stories, share how God's working in your life, share about how amazing his kingdom is. So great job doing this. I really appreciate you, all your investment in taking the time to do this. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure, our pleasure. Thank you, Lavi, for your time. I really appreciate it, and it's been very, very inspiring. So, to all those of you listening at home, thank you once again for joining us on this other edition of Make Your Life Count. And until we see you next time, don't forget to make your life count. God bless.